Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna make the laser cutter file. Oh my god, that car almost got hit by an 18-wheeler. Okay. Wow. It's in my mouth. Welcome to this episode of Little Builds. Today I'm going to be building a stainless oven stove combo. I've seen a lot of oven stove builds that are black enamel or white enamel, which is pretty easy to accomplish with just a good enamel paint. But what I haven't seen done really well is stainless steel. So I figured, why not try it out? And I think I figured it out. So this is the video to show you what I've been doing. So let's get started. Boy, good boy. You gonna lay down? Thank you so much. Sweet baby. Okay, so I just got back from the makerspace where I laser cut these gas stove covers, and there's like a grate that goes over. And what I actually want to do is put an epoxy over them, because these covers for gas stoves are typically cast iron, and cast iron is never perfectly straight or flat. There's always going to be some kind of fillet along the edge. So I'm going to fake that by doing an epoxy over the top of these. Once I let that dry, I'm then going to spray paint them. Each one of these is going to fit inside. So they're gonna fit in here. This bottom part is going to house the burner. So for the burner, I'm gonna use an upside down finish washer. So it looks like a burner, or close enough to a burner, and there'll also be metal. So once I've glued all that together, I'm going to spray paint this black. So this is where the knobs are gonna be in the display. Pretty simple. These parts are going to be covered in aluminum, a very thin aluminum. So I'm just gonna grab a little sample. So here is the aluminum. You can see it's pretty shiny. However, the texture on this aluminum is pretty spot on to stainless. That's why I'm using it. So that's the plan. So for these are gonna be covered in aluminum, and I'll show you how to make those parts. But yeah, so first thing I'm gonna do is get some epoxy on these guys and this, so that can dry, because that takes a few hours to dry. Okay, so what I've been using is this clear Gorilla Glue. It has a pretty good viscosity, that's why I like using it. And I also don't have to mix a 2-part epoxy and rush for it to not cure before I'm done. So I've been using this. I use this insulin needle to pop any bubbles that are within this glue, because if you let this glue with bubbles cure, the bubbles are all going to come to the surface and you're going to get a pitted texture, which is not what I want. Okay, so when you're working with this really thin aluminum, it's important to work on a very flat surface. And all of my cutting boards, my cutting mats are not flat surfaces. So what I suggest is that you cut and fold on something soft, like I'm using a mouse pad. So soft, and it doesn't have any hard grooves or specks or uneven texture, because the texture will transfer. So here on this one, it's probably extremely hard to see, but you can see where all the little bumps and grooves on my cutting mat, where those are at, and you can see them clear as day in this part. So use something soft, something that doesn't have anything hard in it. All you're gonna do is you're gonna create a pattern on this sheet of metal. And then you wanna make sure the grain of the aluminum is going the right way. I'm gonna line it up, and I'm gonna outline. I'm using a flathead screwdriver. And then I'm just gonna do the same thing on the inside. Okay, so once I got that, I'm going to figure out the curl over. So this is 0.1 of an inch. So we can say like 0.125, which is an eighth. So let's do 0.125 off the edge of each one of these. So I'm gonna line up my ruler. You could, of course, make kind of a jig, you know. Maybe I'll do that an eighth of an inch, just solid. Okay, so I'm using this. This is an eighth of an inch wide. So that way I can line it up on this part line. Oh gosh. And then just make a straight line. Okay, so once you've got that, I'm going to extend these lines because I'm actually going to be cutting a square notch out of the aluminum so that when I curl it over, I don't get a pinch. Okay, once you've got that figured out, you can cut out the outside edge. I'm just using my X-Acto. This X-Acto has already been ruined. I'm just gonna score, but since this is aluminum, this will basically tear. Do a little bend, back and forth, and that should, you know, make it lose its strength. So you can just rip it like that. These edges are gonna be very, very sharp, so please be careful. Okay, so now I've got a tiny little front. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna cut out the little square notches. Okay, so now we're gonna work on the inside part. So just like the outside part where you measured outside of this line, we're gonna measure on the inside of the window line. And you wanna stop short of connecting all the way through. Okay. Now you want me to do the same thing. We're gonna be cutting out a square. We're gonna be taking a 45. Folding the 45 over and then kind of faking the difference. And for this, I'm gonna cut all 4 sides and then rip it out. And we should be able to get some movement. So it's the scary part. Okay, we've got an opening. Okay, so after you've done plenty of bending, you've got something that looks like this. Okay, so the next step to do is make the handles for the range or the oven. So all this is this mat board that I've cut into a little strip and then slightly bent and then covered in epoxy. So once I've made this, I'm then gonna spray paint it black. That way it ties in the black hardware we're gonna have up here. Okay, so now I'm putting together the top of the range so that you can see. It's just glued. This is not gonna be a functioning door on the range, so I'm not really worried about any moving parts or anything like that. And then I'm gonna glue on a printed out interior of an oven, darken a little bit in Photoshop, and then place this over it, and then of course the glass insets in here as well. Okay, and then for the knobs for this, I actually use, these are iron-on nail heads. Get that at like a sewing shop. This. So I just spray painted them black, and then they inset in this part, and they look like knobs. here it is. So we've used some super thin aluminum, a little bit of chipboard, a lot of that epoxy surface tension hack that kind of gives you a nice rounded edge on everything. So yeah, thanks so much for watching this episode of Little Builds. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Ready? Come on, beans. Come on, Barry.